Welcome to Sprout Updates today, and I am Tolulope Olabode. On today's episode, we'll be considering the prospects and sustainability of agriculture, starting them early. In case this is your first time, Sprout Updates is a program designed to chronicle the activities of the different youth programs that we have here in IITA. Today we have two representatives of the STEP program. They're going to be taking us through the prospects and sustainability of agriculture. They're going to explain what the STEP program is all about. So why not stay tuned and enjoy this discussion. But before we go into that, let's go on this short break. You're welcome to Sprout Updates, and thank you for honoring us. Can we meet you?
My name is Caleb Ogunshola, and I currently work as the ICT officer of STEP.
Thank you.
Okay, good morning. My name is Omolade Musadolua, and I'm the STEP laboratory officer. Yes, I work with the Stademali.
Thank you very much. On the program today, we'll be considering the prospect and sustainability of agriculture, starting them early. So tell me, how possible is that? What was STEP and what's the prospect in it?
Okay, let's retract a little. So Start Them Early program is aimed at changing the mindset of young people in secondary schools, because we deal with an age range where young people within the secondary school systems. We also deal with out of school youths. Either we have three categories: people who have never had any formal education at all, then people that are within the secondary school system, and also dropouts, dropouts from secondary school system. And we identify these people via their communities. So we go to the communities, and then we're able to identify some of these schools within the school system, those that are out of the school systems, and sometimes those that recently graduated, but they are not yet in the university system. So basically, in secondary schools, we observe that agriculture is like a form of punishment. So when is the labor, they say labor period, it's supposed to be labor, but they give them hoes and cutlasses to go and cut grasses. Some even call it agric period, and then they are outside cutting grasses and all of that. So all that already brings about like a warped mindset about agriculture being laborious, being stressful. And then we also have very aging farming population where they are old people, and then they don't have so much money. Agriculture is somewhat related to poverty because it's subsistent, so they don't make so much money from it. So that's the view that these young people have, and then they're like, oh no, you cannot hear a young person saying that they want to become a farmer, because the idea is just poor. So that's why STEP came about, to just change the mindset of these young people by teaching them experientially, by showing them the prospects in agriculture, and not just agriculture, the business aspect of it, agribusiness. So we encourage them to practice agriculture, practices as a business, and show the prospects and the profitability that can be achieved through agriculture. So fortunately, the IITA won that was the ideology, mindset change, and fortunately the IITA won the African Food Prize in 2018, and the former Director General, Dr. Antara Saginga, dedicated the award to pushing this initiative, to pushing this Starting Them Early initiative. So that was how STEP was born, and since 2018 we've been here, we've been impacting as much as we can, and yeah, it's been great so far.
That's good to hear. So where do you operate STEP programs, and what are your activities?
Okay, well, starting from where she has stopped, I would say that majorly our focus, or the best term to describe what we do, is to say we nurture future agribusiness leaders. And by saying future agribusiness leaders, we mean people who will grow up and then, transform the agricultural landscape. So, well, but let me start from this aspect. You mentioned that our stages. So we actually have two major stages. There is the career pathway and then the agribusiness pathway. Okay. So we basically leverage modern technologies and also hands-on experiences. We go to these schools, we go to the communities, and wherever we can gather this specific group of younger youths. We call them younger youths, that's the term. Younger youths, where we can then engage them. So basically the career pathway is where we expose them to potentials of agriculture and agribusiness via the educational route, because you can't easily convince people to say drop education and then by the time you start to talk about agric and agriculture, even at the first engagement or sets of engagements, you see that the students are already looking at you, or the people are already looking at you like, do you expect us to drop whatever we are doing? And so we let them know that, okay, even in this educational system as it is, you can still, there are courses that are still agricultural based, agribusiness based, and I can categorically tell you that part of what we can record as successes is the students that we've engaged. Some of the secondary school students that we've engaged have now gone into universities. They have now been admitted into universities in Nigeria, and they are studying courses that basically have been inspired, or they have chosen courses that have been inspired through our intervention, through our trainings, through our engagement. So as for the agribusiness part, we also expose them to some fundamentals of business in the agricultural space. Even for older people, you would notice if you make like a little survey, or you try to gather information about farmers in Nigeria, you'd realize that people tend to be uninformed in terms of the business aspect. So we expose these younger youths to the business aspect of agriculture, that okay, if you're actually doing this, you can make income from this, you can make income from this if you go this route, if you have this plan, if you have this. So you'd be surprised that even at their stage, we introduce them to something called business plan. Now it's a general term, but it's something that is not even common among people who say they are into business. So we expose them to how to go about these things and eventually start their own businesses. And we can say that we've been able to record a few that have actually gone into their own business, that were set up by themselves, funded by themselves, or maybe their parents chipping in some, and then they have been running at that small scale. And of course, we hope that they can also scale up and then become big business people.
Yeah, that's good. Can you tell me the schools that you've already introduced steps in?
Basically, STEP started in DRC. Yes, so we have presence in DRC, we have presence in Kenya, but the impact of STEP has been stronger in Nigeria here, where we have we have our intervention in over 60 schools across 7 states in Nigeria. We have our presence in Kaduna, Kano, Lagos, sponsored by the MasterCard Foundation. We also have the STEP Oyo project. We're in about 13 schools in Oyo State here. We have our presence in Osun State. We have our presence in Imo State, sponsored by the IITA Agri project. And then we are penetrating Jigawa, more recently. And, it's just been, the presence is strong. The impact is stronger in Nigeria. We've had adoptions from states, like the Oyo State government has adopted the initiative into their intervention, the agricultural and education interventions. Then we also have Lagos State through the Activate project, where there are people who cannot continue their education. They don't have the capacity to further into tertiary education. They gather them together rather than releasing them to the streets. So they gather them together and they show interest in different aspects of technical skills. So the agricultural aspect of that is supported by the Start Them Early program, where we help to train these young people on technical agricultural skills, and then they can start their businesses through the trainings that they gain. Yes, so basically we have all those aspects of the Start Them Early program, and in over 90 schools. Wow. Yes.
Now that's interesting. It's very amazing. Okay, so tell me, you have all these schools, you have all these plans. What are the challenges, that STEP faced in integrating all these schools, and then what are the, perception of all these schools that you've approached?
Well, in terms of challenges, I will just state a few. The first, or should I say the number one challenge that we encountered at the schools was the fact that we are an extracurricular program and we are going into a fixed schedule for the students, or for secondary school students, in this case. So they have their time period, they have time slots for everything. And so the first issue we had was, how do we carve out time without affecting their, their main task or their main program in the school. So this was the first issue we had. And also we, as we were growing, we also realized that there was this issue where, after training the students and then maybe leaving the station or leaving the environment, what happens after? So we realized that, okay, we had to do something to stop the natural death of the program at wherever we've engaged. So that was an issue too. And also, these places that we go to, when we establish agricultural or agribusiness facilities, we establish these facilities so that you can actually practice what you're learning, and it's not just on the textbook or on the computer and just say, look at this. No, we bring this modern technology to them, and they can see, they can practice with it in a running business. So when you establish that, you need it to be managed. So we also realized that that was a problem that had to be solved. So those are three of the major challenges that we've faced.
Okay, so looking at your success stories and what you have done, what are those initiatives that you have introduced to schools, and they are operational now in all the schools that you are in, you've established relationship?
Okay, I think it's good that you are asking this question after just what I've just said, because I can now tell you the solutions that we've preferred to. So, in terms of this time period and how we want to, engage students or younger youths without affecting their schedule. So the first thing we did was to involve the major stakeholders, which includes the ministry, teachers, and then, so we made them see the proof of our concepts. Like, this is what we are going to do. This is how we can benefit the students. This is how we can, transform even the community or the environment and the society rather, and then by extension the country. So we made them see that, and once that had been done, so they organized like a system that would then ensure that STEP does not just come like an external entity that just, so we work hand in hand now with the ministries, and so they have put systems in place that would make life easier, basically, to manage these facilities, to manage this time slot thing where we fit into in the timetable, as it is called in the secondary schools. So where we fit into their timetable, and also to to involve the teachers more, because the teachers too are part of this system. We don't have the training to engage students because we are not trained teachers, so we have to actually involve the teachers. So the ministry has helped with that as well, and that leads me to my next point, which is a little program which we've also started. It's an initiative for the teachers. So this is where we also train the teachers. So when we train them, they can then pass the knowledge down with expertise to these students, because they have the training, they have the required training to engage the students. So that has made it, that has basically helped turn STEP into a running system that, and when you establish a system, it's basically difficult to stop, because there's something you can't just, if you take someone out, it's still running because someone else can fill that void. So those are the some of the things that I think we have been able to achieve.
That's very interesting. And before we go on, we will be taking a very short break. Welcome back, and the show is still Sprouts Updates, and I have with me Musa Dolua and Caleb from the STEP program. Okay, you're welcome back. And if you are just joining, we're talking about the prospect and sustainability of agriculture, starting them early. So now we ask you my next question. What are those positive impacts that STEP program has achieved so far in introducing the program?
Okay, thank you. I'd like to highlight two major aspects or two major impacts. So the first one is the home agribusiness. We've already talked about how we expose them to the business aspect of agriculture, but actually by providing technical mentorship, and then after the trainings, so we ensure that these students actually go into these businesses. So if we have trained you, it's not just about training and then leaving it. So we ensure that you start something. So if you're trained under the aspects of poultry, and I can tell you that we have students, or we have beneficiaries who have gone into these businesses. So, and it does not have to be like a grand scale or a big scale business. You start from something small. If it's poultry, you can start with 2 beds. If it's aquaculture, you can start with just a little number of fishes, and you grow from there. So we've been able to do that, and then you'll be surprised. Secondary school students at the back of their houses, they've started these businesses, and they talk about it amongst their friends, and it also creates like this sense of community again amongst the students. So the second one is the adoption of our model. In Lagos and Oyo states, we've had ministry, or should I say the administrative part of the states. They've adopted these models by integrating out of school students into technical skills. So they have programs where they integrate, they have programs where they bring in or reintegrate students who are out of school and cannot pursue their academic endeavors any longer. So, but we can't have them just walking around the streets and just being useless. So they reintegrate them into technical programs. So, but when we came, and then it was obvious that this is something that they can do. So they reintegrate them into agricultural technical programs. So now they can move into different aspects along the agricultural value chain. So this has been something that, and this is on a state level, so you can see that it's something big. So even places where we might not be able to reach, we have been able to create something where some people can be part of a process that can make them agricultural or agribusiness people.
All right, thank you. So you said something about your beneficiaries. How do you select your beneficiaries, and what measures do you put in place in measuring, if I can say that, measuring your successes, your impact?
Okay, so I'm going to take that. Thank you very much. Basically, we work with government secondary schools, and why is that? Our major stakeholders are the state government. We've not really had much partnership with the private sector. I won't be able to say owing like what that is owing to, but we majorly work with state government. So we select government-owned secondary schools. The Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Agriculture, they are involved in this selection process. So when we get to the schools, the first stage is orientation. We do a general orientation for the school, all the students in the school, and then show of interest, because rather than packing numbers, it's better to just pick people who show interest and who are really interested in these programs. So they show interest, and then we do couple of surveys, then we do the technical training, we do the business training, and then the amazing thing about it is, like my colleague said earlier, we are not trained teachers, so we do not go by classroom setting training. So we make it like an extracurricular club activity. So it is like a fun activity. We make agriculture seem fun to them. So the technical training is not just chalkboard and writing. We do hands-on practical trainings. And then we establish pilot enterprises. So we are not just telling you, oh, this is how a bird looks, this is how the poultry pen looks. They can see it. They are involved in the development and management, daily routine management of these enterprises that are established in their schools. We establish school farms where they can learn hands-on, and they can replicate what they have learned. They can practice what they have learned outside even the school environment, and then they are able to manage it because they are seeing how it's being managed in their schools. So this is our model, and this is what it has led to, as in the impact, as in the people who take up these models and establish it in their own homes and then develop businesses from it, and they're able to scale up from there. Yeah, basically.
This is going to be my last question for you. And it's about your partners. You mentioned partnering with governments and ministries. So what are those benefits that you enjoy with from all these partners, and then how does this extend to the schools, the students that you train?
I'd like to start by talking about who our partners are, and we are a donor-funded project, and our donors usually determine where we go to. So we've worked with, I think this is a popular one, the Oyo State government, because even the governor himself has made mention of this program in a couple of speeches, and of course that talks about how successful this project has been. Also, aside the Oyo State government, we've also worked with MasterCard Foundation in Nigeria. So she mentioned the number of schools. We are in over 90 schools in Nigeria, and also we've also worked with IDRC. They've supported us. We've worked with CTA. They've supported us too. So, and also we have presence in DRC and Kenya as well. So but mostly our supporters, or should I say our donors, have been public-based organizations, not the private sector.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what's the plan for that? Do you intend to scale to the private sectors?
Well, I would say that, for example, private schools. I think when we started out with one or two private schools, and usually the private school system is more rigid than the government-owned secondary schools. They already have everything planned. They have siesta time. They have everything. So it was difficult. It was a little bit more difficult penetrating into the private school systems. The parents pay, so they expect that their children should, and then the interest level is not comparable to that in the government secondary schools. And also, maybe if we have and then we also work with rural areas and peri-urban areas. We focus more on low income communities, low income earners. So it's easier for them to adopt and show interest in these places, and it's easier to show a proof of concept to these people. And then, like my colleague also said, we work with the donors determine the location. So for example, MasterCard Foundation is in Lagos, Kaduna, Kano. That's where they want the project to be implemented, so that's where we go to. And then our partners, multiple stakeholders, determine where we go to and where we implement and how we implement to a large extent.
All right. Thank you very much for coming here. So I asked this is my question. It's on a lighter note. You believe your project would transform agriculture? Like when they speak, students, young youths grow up, they would keep up with this plant you've, should I call it seed that you have planted? Yes.
So what I would say is, it sounds like you are asking if it would be possible, but I just want to tell you that I've spoken about people who we've trained and, have already started businesses. I've spoken about people who have gone into university to take courses after they've been inspired by us. So what I'm just going to say is watch out for them.
Yes.
Thank you.
Watch out for them.
I'll definitely do that, and I would like to invite one of them, on this program.
Of course.
To share their views. Thank you very much for being here, and I hope when next I call upon you, you would eagerly want to
Definitely.
come. Thank you very much.
Here. Thank you too.
And this is where we draw the curtain of this program today. It is Sprout Update, and I am Tolulokpe Olabode. I am so appreciative of Caleb and Musadoluwa for coming today, and I am so sure you have learned one thing or the other. We focused on the prospect and sustainability of agriculture, starting them early. I've learned that it is important, very, very crucial, to introduce agriculture and agribusiness to the youth right from the early stage. It is important, to transform agriculture in Africa and worldwide. And I hope you would watch out for our next episode, and you follow us on all our social media platforms. It is at IITA TV on every social media platforms. So I say bye-bye to you and see you next time. Bye.
Hey.